Hey homeschoolers, I'm Melissa Webb, former full-time classroom teacher and homeschool mom turned full-time business CEO. I am determined and dedicated to helping you. Yes, I want to give you sound, educational, practical tips and advice, at the same time making sure that you're enjoying the family journey that you are on. So if you are looking for a place to be encouraged and inspired, you have found the perfect podcast. Homeschooling is a work of heart, is truly the perfect place to start. So welcome. Let's jump in. Hi, friend. This week I went back to the Los Rios house in San Juan Capistrano. I went with a pretty large group of girlfriends, and it was just as delightful as my very first visit. In fact, I wandered a little bit more this time. I shopped the little boutiques. We had a 9-year-old young lady with us, which made it all the more lovely. And for 4 to 5 hours, we were outdoors in fresh air and beautiful, verdant surroundings. There were more butterflies than we could count, endless colors, varieties of flowers. Can you picture it? It's beautiful and breathtaking. And while the high tea part at the tea house is far from free, much of what we enjoyed and appreciated about the day was completely free. And it happens to be something that is available to every person, including you, whether you're in Southern California or elsewhere, and that is nature. So that was my catalyst for this week's episode. Do you know who Ginny Urick is? She is a homeschooling mom of 5, but she is also the founder of 1,000 Hours Outside. She has a podcast, she has books. Have you heard about 1,000 Hours Outside? It's actually a global movement, and it's designed for children and adults. People have called her the free play advocate, and she has authored multiple books, and you may want to read one of those over your summertime. But here's what she shares, and that is that most children today are spending 4 to 7 hours on screens and only 4 to 7 minutes outdoors on a daily basis. Does that stun you? That stunned me. I hope that statistic of hers isn't true, but I'm fairly confident it's close to true. So Ginny was inspired by the powerful research of Richard Louv. He wrote a book called Last Child in the Woods, where he discusses what he has termed nature deficit disorder, NDD, nature deficit disorder. And his whole point is that today's generation, for a whole slew of reasons, are not spending enough time exploring the outside. And I'm just curious, when you think back to when you were in school, so go back to your elementary years, likely you were in a brick and mortar, a traditional setting. I was. And when I think back about how often I was allowed to be outside, it was quite a bit. Especially time before school and time after school, I was outdoors a lot. I would get a ride to school, but I would then walk the mile home. And I would, of course, take my time and dawdle along the way. So that's probably 30 minutes. And then during school, we had 3 lengthy playtimes. We had a morning recess. We had like an hour for lunch. And then we even had an afternoon recess, probably 20 or 30 minutes. So I don't know, just in all that time, I was outside a couple of hours every day, but consider the outside time playing with friends after school. And then in the summers, my goodness, my brothers and I, we'd leave our home in the morning, come back to have lunch, we'd leave again, and we had to be home before dark. We always had to watch the streetlights. If the streetlights came on, it was time to head home. And when I talk to my friends about their childhoods, they have very similar stories, but they are not the stories that our children are sharing in today. Things have changed. So I'm just wondering, have you taken an account of the number of hours you and your children are getting outdoors, especially for free play, for exploration, for a simple walk, not a structured sports practice? I think that our generation of raising children has been more of structured play. And again, this is why he calls it nature deficit disorder. Richard Louv, he calls it that because we're not just exploring in nature. So much of what we're doing is so structured. And it is like a limited structured time. We're going to do this for 45 minutes. So it is something to consider because getting outdoors matters. It's a very healthy thing to be doing. And so I thought this week we could take a closer look at that. And I came up with a handful of very doable ideas to get outside this summer and even next fall and make it a part of your routine, rain or shine. So back to Richard Louv. He coined the term nature deficit disorder to describe how children today are disconnected from the natural world. He did a lot of research, and there were 3 things that he noted, significant changes that nature can improve. The first one was mental health. People who spend more time outdoors in nature tend to have less anxiety and lower depression. The second thing nature improves is the ability to focus as well as cognitive function. Now, he specifically talked about how important this is with children who have ADHD. They need to be outside more. They need to be running. They need to be jumping. They need to be climbing trees. They need to be playing. It's very important for their ability to focus and their cognitive function. And then the third thing he said that nature can improve upon is one's creativity, as well as resilience. So the book that I mentioned, I downloaded. It's a free download on Audible. If you have an Audible account, you can get the book downloaded for free, which is fantastic. It's called The Last Child in the Woods. I've just started it. I'm just a few chapters in, but I'm enjoying it. And it really is good food for thought. Now, knowing that part, but also connecting to Jenny Urick and her 1,000 hours outside movement, I feel like we should be so encouraged to at least work to match our screen time with outdoor time. It's something worth considering, right? I mean, we as parents have an opportunity to counteract screen-induced fatigue and imbalance through increased time spent outdoors playing. And like I said, not as much the structured play, although that's great. Count that as your outdoor time, soccer practice, wonderful. But it doesn't allow for the creative exploration, like maybe a hike on the plateau, a bike ride around a lake, practicing different tricks on a skateboard. These activities that are really engaging the brain and creativity, even collecting things like leaves. Like there's just so many things you can do that are less structured and more creative. So be thinking that way as you imagine 1,000 hours outside per year, which I did the math, and it's equivalent to a little less than 3 hours outside every day. And just consider that every day, 3 hours outside. Now, some days it's easier, right? It's certainly easier in the summer. So do more than that when you can. But on average, we want to be spending, if we can, a few hours outside. Doesn't have to be at the same time. You could do a morning walk. That would be great. In fact, morning light is the best light. There's also the Wellness Mama. I don't know if you follow her. She's another one worth following. Just great information to help our kids be as healthy as possible. But here's the thing. The 1,000 hours per year is intended to be embraced either on an individual level, that's great, but you also can do this as a family. And there are a lot of benefits to that, because if you're making this a goal for the family and everyone's getting outside, it's not just pushing the kids outside, but we're all getting outside, maybe we're going places, we're going to build stronger family connections, which is so important. We also are going to naturally increase our physical condition. We're going to be breathing fresh air. We're going to be walking. We're going to be running. We're going to be stretching, like all of those things. So good. As well, when we're outside, I think it's a natural tendency to have a deeper appreciation for the world our Creator created. We have to be outside to see the amazing sunset or watch the sun rise, to see how the clouds float across the sky, to see the height of the trees or the tiniest little flower. All of those things build this deep appreciation for the beauty that is all around us. We were not made to sit inside four walls all day. Outdoors is a healthy space. We want to ditch the screen and spend more time in the green. So as I promised, I do have a few ideas to help you get the ball rolling. And I don't know about you, but my brain would already be producing some excuses. I want you to pay attention to that. If you're fighting me on this topic, it could be anything. You could be saying, oh, it's too hot. We're too busy. We don't have a great yard for this. And I have babies and I have bigger kids. I get it. I do. But pay attention to the excuses your brain wants to come up with and fight it. Just see what is a solution, because I promise you there are solutions. I have a few ideas, and this should work no matter what season it is. I would recommend starting small. So get like a 20-minute daily dose of outdoor time part of your day. Now, free play, as I mentioned, is ideal. Letting your kids decide what to do. They could collect leaves or rocks. You could later use those as an art activity. But you can make it work in whatever way works for you. Maybe you all read aloud under a tree, or you journal on the porch. You take a walk around the block with the dogs, whatever. Just 20 minutes a day, but every day. Really work to do it every day, 7 days a week. It is amazing how a little fresh air can reset an entire household. So important. In fact, Dr. Amy Shaw has a simple rule. You can check her out too. She's got a lot of things that have to do with wellness in children, but she says, sky before screens every morning. I love that. Sky before screens every morning. The second idea is that if you're doing some learning this summer, pair that with the outdoors. So if you're working on multiplication facts, make it into a hopscotch. You could do a hike, but also tie it into nature journaling or a sketchbook. You could, if you're working on still some spelling words, do that with sidewalk chalk. I've talked about ideas like this in former episodes, but what I like about turning school subjects into outdoor lessons is that not only are your kids learning, which is great, they're also moving, and that's powerful. Very good for the brain and the body. The third idea I really love, because I saw somebody else did this. They had what I think she called it the backyard adventure basket or something like that. Anyway, it was a little basket, and it had a couple pairs of binoculars, bug catchers, a magnifying glass, sidewalk chalk. There was like a little journal called the Field Guide, and pencils and crayons. They could do leaf rubbings if they wanted to. I mean, just all these like simple tools, but all in one space. Now that I thought was a great idea, because it could reduce resistance if you have a child who's like, I don't know what to do outside, which would be funny to hear a kid say, but I know they say it. So you want it just to feel more like playtime. So hopefully a little basket could be inspiring to them, or it could also act as a good reminder. Like you see the basket and you're like, hey, you guys, go do something outdoors. Use the backyard adventure basket or whatever you want to call it. I also think this could be a perfect time to join or create your own nature club. I don't know, I just think this could be fun with friends, neighbors. You could meet once a week. You could go for a hike. It could be something different every week. It could be the same thing every week. We all go to the park. We bring blankets, we bring a picnic, and we just let the kids have fun. And hopefully you parents can actually sit and chat and talk a little bit. But you also could take them all to a beach and do a community service project like a beach cleanup or something. When you have other people doing something with you, I think it's something to look forward to, and it's also great accountability. So consider that. And then the last thing I just wanted to mention is that as much as our brains are going to want to say, especially in the summer, oh, it's just too hot to do anything, I want to encourage you to change that mindset and celebrate the weather instead of fighting it. Did you know you can do that? You actually can. You can choose a thought like, there's no bad weather. It's all about the right timing and the right clothing. Those are the things that make the difference. Where I live, we can hit 3-digit temps in the summer. It gets hot, my friends. So we walk early, get up early in the morning. And then we have a pool in our backyard. And in the summers when it would get so hot, the sun would start to go behind the mountains that are behind our home. And usually around 4 or 5 o'clock, then we could get into the pool and it was considerably cooler and it was shadier. You just have to work with it. Don't let it be an excuse as to why you don't do something. Instead, consider the fact that weather changes are also learning opportunities. I would question, what do outdoor wildlife do when it is exceptionally hot or exceptionally cold? What do they do? Where do they go? We talk about how some animals are nocturnal for this exact reason. Anyway, I hope that gives you a few ideas of where you can take this. The best news that I can offer and the inspiration I hope to leave you with is that you don't need to live near a national park to make this happen. You don't have to take a full entire day off. All you need is the willingness to step outside a little more frequently. Every couple hours, plan to go outside for 20 minutes. If you do that 3 times a day, you just were outside for an extra hour. Think of it as the recess time if you like. You probably loved that time when you were a child, and I know your kids would love it too. Let nature lead the way, because I think that whether you're chasing butterflies or you're counting clouds, every moment outside is an investment in your child's well-being, and that's a really beautiful thing. And hey, there are also free tracking apps that you can put on your phone to keep track of the hours you spend outdoors. For kids, Jenny has these beautiful tracking coloring pages. And I think that can make the challenge more fun. The more time you're outdoors, the more the page starts to get colorful. It's a clever idea. I really liked that. I will be sure to link to several resources. I know I mentioned a lot this week, and so I'll put that in the show notes for you. You can always reach out to me on Instagram or Facebook or connect with me via my website. But for now, let's all work to get out and stay out a little more every day. Right on. Well, thanks so much for tuning in and listening this week. Hey, if this was something that you found valuable, don't forget you want to subscribe or follow so that every time a new episode is dropped, you'll be the first to know. And hey, before you go, if you are looking to get some of this academic writing under your belt and outsourced so that it's one less thing freeing you up to enjoy more time with your family, hey, you're going to want to head over to writeonweb.com homeschool.com to see what kinds of resources and materials I have available for you. I will look forward to seeing you there, and I will look forward to seeing you here in our next episode. Right on.